The first sign came as a ripple across the stars, a shadow passing through the Coalition's outer systems, faster than any patrol could track. Admiral Lyron Kale stood at the command deck of the Andros station, gripping the railing, eyes fixed on the holographic display. Hundreds of star systems glowed green, signaling stability. Yet a crimson pulse began to spread from the outer rim, a warning none of the Coalition species had ever seen before. "They're moving faster than predicted," Kale muttered, his voice tight. Around him, Council members from dozens of species exchanged worried glances. The Zalari, insectoid tacticians, clicked their mandibles nervously. The crystalline Solari whispered calculations to one another, their voices like chimes in a windless sky. "We've lost contact with 3 outposts in less than 12 hours, said Captain Rena Voss, a human liaison recently integrated into the Coalition's command. Her sharp green eyes scanned the display, unafraid of the alien scrutiny. "And the fleet can't keep up." Kale frowned. "We're supposed to be the galaxy's strongest alliance. How can this be happening?" Before anyone could answer, a series of readings flashed across the screens, large, coordinated energy spikes, each one a planet lost before any response could be mounted. A cold silence fell over the chamber. No one spoke. The alien threat, an unknown species, was systematically consuming worlds, leaving nothing behind. From the observation balcony, a sleek, silver alien ship materialized near the Coalition's central system. It hovered without warning, projecting a beacon that pulsed with soft blue light. Council members leaned forward, cranial ridges tensing, antennae flicking in confusion. It was unlike any known vessel, both elegant and terrifying, seemingly alive. A voice boomed from the ship. It was translated by a universal communication device, but the words carried authority no one could ignore. "We are the Vorath. We come not in peace. Your technology means nothing without adaptability. Prepare yourselves, or be erased." The room went cold. Some species trembled, others froze in disbelief. "Adaptability," muttered Admiral Kale. "What do they mean by that?" Captain Voss stepped forward. "Sir, this is exactly why we requested human liaison. Our species, humans, they fight differently. They think differently. They might be the key." The Council turned to her, a mixture of skepticism and curiosity painted on every face. Kale arched an eyebrow. "Explain." Voss activated a smaller holographic panel. Images flickered of humans in battle across their own planet. Guerrilla fighters in dense jungles, soldiers improvising weapons in urban ruins, resistance groups outmaneuvering far superior armies. "Our species has survived thousands of years of war. Constant conflict is our history. We adapt in ways no other species can." The room was silent. A Solari delegate whispered, "Primitive. Yet, effective." "Yes," Voss said firmly. "We combine unpredictability with creativity. Machines, numbers, and calculations work for other species. Humans, we innovate in chaos." Kale leaned back, studying her. "You're suggesting humans can teach us to fight differently?" "Yes, sir," Voss replied. "To survive the Vorath, we must do what no one else can do, think in ways they cannot predict." The Council debated for hours, weighing pride against survival. Finally, Kale gave the order. "Prepare a diplomatic vessel. I will meet them. If humans are our only hope, we must understand what they can do." Meanwhile, on Earth, the sky darkened as enormous alien ships appeared without warning. Cities paused, helicopters circled, lights flickered. People stared upward in awe and fear. Military and political leaders scrambled to respond. In Washington, D.C., General Marcus Harville, a decorated combat strategist, stood on a balcony beside the Secretary-General. His jaw tightened as he watched the alien delegation descend. "They come seeking our help?" he asked. "They claim they need humans for strategy," said the Secretary-General. "It sounds insane, but the intelligence is clear. They cannot win this war without someone, like us." Harville studied the visitors. The aliens were diverse, more so than any human could imagine. Some resembled humanoid figures with elongated limbs, Others seemed like walking crystals that shimmered and reflected the sun. At the forefront stood a commanding figure, taller than any human, with deep blue skin and eyes like liquid silver. "We come in peace," the alien said, voice resonating. "And we come seeking your unique skills to survive a threat unlike any you have ever seen." For the first time in centuries, humans were no longer considered primitive. They were now potential saviors of multiple civilizations. A global debate ensued. Nations argued, should they cooperate with aliens and share knowledge of warfare? Or should they ignore the extraterrestrial request and risk annihilation? General Harville watched television broadcasts as diplomats and experts analyzed the Vorath threat. The decision weighed heavily. Finally, after much discussion, the coalition agreed. Humans would send their best soldiers, tacticians, and strategists, not to fight directly, but to train and advise. Only 5,000 volunteers were chosen, experts in irregular warfare, guerrilla tactics, and psychological operations. They would be humanity's ambassadors, the ones to prove that survival sometimes required more than technology, it required ingenuity. 2 weeks later, Commander Ethan Vale and his team stepped off the Earth-based transport ship onto the alien planet of Orinthia Prime. Towering crystalline spires reached toward the sky, ships of unimaginable design hovered above, and alien soldiers watched silently. The humans felt dwarfed and out of place, but they were ready. Ethan turned to his team. "Remember," he said, "we're not just here to train. We're here to make sure the galaxy survives. And the one thing no machine or alien can predict is the human mind." And with that, humanity's first step into an interstellar war began, a war where creativity, unpredictability, and courage would become the deadliest weapons in the universe. The next morning on Orinthia Prime, the human volunteers gathered in a vast hall that resembled a hybrid between a training ground and a war room. The walls were crystalline, pulsing with soft energy, and holographic maps floated in mid-air, showing countless star systems and the ever-advancing Vorath forces. Alien officers moved with precise, rigid steps, their every motion dictated by protocol and logic. Humans, in contrast, moved freely, speaking in rapid, overlapping conversations as they assessed the situation. Commander Ethan Vale stood at the center, scanning the gathered faces of both humans and aliens. "Listen up," he said, his voice firm but calm. "You've all trained in structured warfare. The Vorath expect structure, repetition, predictability. That's where we have the advantage. Chaos is our weapon. Unpredictability is our ally." He gestured to Lieutenant Myra Hayes, who stepped forward with a group of alien soldiers, each one staring curiously at the humans. Myra began demonstrating a simple exercise, small groups splitting and rejoining, attacking targets from unexpected angles. Don't follow patterns. Change positions constantly. Fake attacks. Retreat. Advance. Make the enemy think you're everywhere at once. The aliens hesitated. Their neural systems were designed for efficiency. Deviation from protocol seemed impossible. Yet slowly, some began mimicking the humans, hesitantly at first. A Solari officer extended a crystalline limb in a half-hearted mimic of Myra's movements. A Zalari soldier clicked in confusion as he pivoted unexpectedly, trying to imitate a human dodge. Hours passed, and the first breakthrough occurred during a simulation. A squad of alien trainees, under human guidance, faced a Vorath holographic fleet. Instead of the standard formation, they split into unpredictable, shifting patterns. The Vorath responded but faltered. Their hive mind simulations could not anticipate the constant deviations. The humans cheered quietly. Even Ethan allowed himself a small smile. "This is just the beginning," he said. Meanwhile, Raj Patel, a young genius in improvisational tech, examined alien weapon systems. The weapons were flawless, precise, and efficient, but too predictable. He tinkered quietly, adding minor variances to firing patterns and energy output. It made the weapons slightly chaotic, less efficient on paper, but far more effective against an enemy that anticipated perfection. By evening, the humans and alien trainees were exhausted but energized. "They're learning," Myra said, watching a group of reptilian aliens successfully execute a complex flanking maneuver. "Not fast enough, but they're learning." That night, Commander Vale reviewed the Vorath threat on a holographic map. Hundreds of crimson pulses marked consumed worlds, and the Vorath fleet was advancing rapidly toward the Coalition's core sectors. He knew that training alone would not be enough. Humans had to apply their strategies in the field, and fast. The opportunity arrived sooner than expected. A Vorath scouting vessel had been detected approaching a minor outpost on the edge of the Coalition's controlled space. The alien commanders immediately suggested a full-scale response, send an entire fleet, overwhelm them with superior firepower. Ethan shook his head. No. We won't win with brute force. We'll win by making them fight our way, not theirs. A small team of 30 humans and 50 alien trainees boarded a fast transport and approached the outpost. The Vorath scout ship loomed in the distance, scanning the outpost with lethal precision. Standard procedure would have been to attack head-on. Instead, Ethan divided his teams into smaller squads, using terrain and debris as cover. Move unpredictably, he instructed. Hit and fade. Confuse them. Make them think we're everywhere at once. The battle began. The Vorath fired coordinated energy blasts, but the humans and aliens never stayed in one place. They attacked from multiple angles, disappeared behind debris, and used feints that made the enemy hesitate. Myra led one squad to disable communications, while Raj's team rigged devices that emitted confusing signals, disrupting the Vorath hive-mind connection for a few crucial seconds. The enemy faltered. Their coordinated assault slowed, as though trying to read a strategy that did not exist. Small squads of humans and aliens disabled weapons, blocked reinforcements, and forced the Vorath retreat. For the first time in months, a Coalition outpost survived a Vorath assault intact. Back at the Coalition command center, Admiral Kale reviewed the operation recordings. This should not have worked, he murmured. His assistant, a crystalline Solari named Vera, nodded. They didn't fight like we fight. They didn't fight like any species we've studied. Kale turned to the human officers. Explain this, psychological warfare you call it. Ethan smiled faintly. It's simple. The Vorath rely on logic and expectation. We don't. Humans think creatively, adapt instantly, improvise. They can't predict what we'll do next. The next morning, news of the success spread across the Coalition. Alien commanders who had been skeptical began approaching the humans for advice. Even the most rigid soldiers were beginning to understand that human unpredictability was not recklessness, it was strategy. Yet the threat of the Vorath remained immense. They would learn and adapt if humans did not stay one step ahead. Ethan called a meeting with his core team, Myra, Raj, and Lieutenant Sophia Tran, a veteran in guerrilla operations. This victory is small, he said. But it proves one thing, we can fight differently, and it works. The next step is bigger. Much bigger. We need to prepare the Coalition for the battles ahead. And we need to keep them unpredictable. As the human officers left the room, Myra glanced at the stars visible through the crystalline dome. They think we're just soldiers, she said. They have no idea what humans are capable of. And for the first time, the Coalition had hope. A hope born not of technology, not of superior firepower, but of human creativity, courage, and the ability to turn chaos into victory. The Coalition forces had barely celebrated their first victory when alarms blared across Orinthia Prime. Red pulses flashed on the holographic star maps, and a massive Vorath fleet emerged from hyperspace, heading straight for the Pellerin sector, a critical supply hub for the Coalition. Commander Ethan Vale studied the map, brow furrowed. They've adapted. They're not moving in their usual predictable formations. They're trying something new. Lieutenant Myra Hayes adjusted her headset. The hive mind must be learning from our tactics. They are copying us. Admiral Lyron Kale paced behind them. Copying humans? How is that possible in such a short time? Ethan's voice was calm, but firm. They can observe, but they can't anticipate human improvisation in real time. That's our advantage. If we stay unpredictable, we control the battle. Within hours, the first ground engagement began on the planet Farron, a mining world vital for producing energy weapons. A combined human-alien team of 70, led by Lieutenant Ryan Cooper, landed near the main power facility. The Vorath forces, numbering in the thousands, descended in scattered groups rather than a single swarm. They had clearly altered their tactics, using terrain to their advantage, laying ambushes, and spreading out to overwhelm the defenders. Ryan signaled to his team. Form small squads. Don't fight like a wall, fight like ghosts. Hit and fade. Confuse them. The humans split into multiple teams, improvising weapons and traps from mining equipment and facility resources. Myra's squad rigged energy conduits to produce electrical discharges when triggered, while engineer Raj Patel modified alien rifles to emit bursts of electromagnetic pulses. Every device had a dual purpose: inflict damage and disrupt the Vorath hive-mind coordination. The battle erupted in chaos. The Vorath assumed humans and aliens would defend standard positions. But the defenders never stayed in one place. Explosions and energy blasts lit the rocky terrain as squads struck from unexpected angles, vanishing into tunnels or behind debris. The Vorath hesitated, unable to predict the next human move. In the command center, Admiral Kale monitored the engagement. "They're holding the line," he murmured, disbelief evident in his tone. "They shouldn't be able to do this against such numbers." Ethan's headset buzzed. "Ryan, status." "We've disabled 3 Vorath landing zones and forced the remainder into narrow passes," Ryan replied, sweat and dirt streaking his face. "We're stretched thin, but they can't predict us. Every move is confusing them." Back on Orinthia Prime, Captain Sophia Tran coordinated reinforcements via holographic feeds. "Spread the forces into unpredictable clusters," she instructed. "Let the Vorath overcommit where they think we're weak. Draw them in, then strike from all sides." The Vorath commanders on the battlefield grew frustrated. Their hive mind struggled with the sudden bursts of unpredictability, the scattered attacks, and the constant adaptation. Each time they thought they had the humans and aliens trapped, the defenders vanished, reappearing in unexpected positions. Hours turned into days. The humans rotated in shifts, never presenting the same defense twice. Improvised traps, feints, and guerrilla maneuvers slowed the Vorath advance. Even the coalition's rigid forces began to understand the power of unpredictability, adjusting their own strategies to mimic the humans' flexible tactics. On the third day, the Vorath launched their largest assault yet, focusing on the central command node of the Pellerin facility. Ethan and Ryan assessed the situation. "We can't hold them in one spot," Ethan said. "Divide and isolate. Make them chase shadows." Squads moved through underground maintenance tunnels, emerging behind Vorath forces. Mines were triggered remotely. Energy discharges created temporary blind spots. Every attack forced the Vorath to adapt, then stumble again when humans changed tactics at the last moment. Despite the chaos, casualties were inevitable. 7 humans were lost, and dozens were wounded. But morale remained high. "Every setback teaches them nothing about us," Myra said, bandaging a teammate. "We don't fight like a single pattern. We fight like humans." By the 4th day, reinforcements arrived from the coalition fleet. Ships armed with alien energy weapons and human tactical guidance broke through Vorath lines, turning the tide. Yet when the battle ended, it was clear who had made the difference. The humans had created confusion, exploiting it to maximum effect. The Vorath, for the first time, were forced to retreat. In the command center, Admiral Kale reviewed reports, leaning heavily on the console. This is unprecedented," he said. "Humans have done what we couldn't, slowed a Vorath advance without relying on raw firepower." Ethan entered, wiping sweat from his brow. "We've bought time, sir. But the Vorath will adapt again. We need to prepare for the next engagement. Each battle will be different, and we must stay ahead." Outside, the Pellerin landscape was scarred with craters, smoke, and twisted metal. Yet standing amid the devastation, humans and aliens alike felt a spark of hope. Chaos had become their weapon, and unpredictability their shield. The Vorath had underestimated them. They had assumed technology alone would win the war. They had not counted on human ingenuity. As night fell, the humans gathered around the surviving outpost. Myra looked at her team, faces smeared with dirt, eyes bright with determination. They think they know how we fight, she said. But this is just the beginning. Our next moves will be impossible to predict. And that is exactly why we will win. For the first time, across coalition worlds, the enemy knew fear, the fear of the unpredictable, the unknown, the unstoppable human mind. The coalition fleet had gathered at the Proxima Cluster, a strategic junction of star systems under constant Vorath assault. Hundreds of alien ships glimmered in the void, perfectly aligned in precise formations, their commanders confident in technology and calculation. Yet the humans, small in number, walked among them like sparks of unpredictability in a world of rigid logic. Commander Ethan Vale stood on the bridge of the lead transport, studying holographic displays that projected the Vorath advance. They think they understand strategy, he said, voice calm but steely. But we're about to show them what chaos looks like on a massive scale. Lieutenant Myra Hayes tapped on the holographic table, sending commands to scattered coalition squadrons. Split the fleet. Don't move as one unit. Each squad acts independently. Surprise is our weapon. The alien commanders hesitated. In their centuries of warfare, coordination and precision had always been the path to victory. But after the Farron engagement, they had begun to trust the humans' instincts. If humans say this works, we follow, Admiral Kale said quietly, a rare flicker of hope in his voice. Raj Patel adjusted communication systems on his console, creating randomized signal disruptions to mimic Vorath interference. Every broadcasted movement seemed inconsistent, forcing enemy ships to miscalculate their targeting. They'll never know what's real and what's a decoy, Raj said. The battle began in the dark expanse of space. Vorath ships approached in clusters, intending to overwhelm coalition forces with sheer numbers. Instead, the fleet split into unpredictable vectors, small teams darting in and out of asteroid fields, jumping unexpectedly between hyperspace corridors. The Vorath hesitated, their hive mind calculations delayed by inconsistent signals and human-inspired maneuvers. On the surface of Orinthia Prime, ground operations mirrored the chaos in space. Human-led squads set traps along key Vorath landing zones, using terrain to mask their attacks. Explosions rocked the rocky plains as squads appeared and disappeared, striking targets that no Vorath commander could predict. Lieutenant Sophia Tran coordinated the ground units with rapid, improvised directives. Do not hold positions. Move with purpose, then vanish. Make every step count, but make them guess every move. The alien trainees had initially struggled with improvisation, but now they moved with a fluidity that astonished both humans and alien veterans alike. Hours passed, and the Vorath forces began to falter. Their hive mind, once unstoppable, now stumbled against the unpredictable patterns. Energy beams missed targets, swarm formations collided, and panic rippled through their ranks. For the first time, the enemy appeared vulnerable. Ethan watched the battle unfold, voice tense but controlled. It's working. Keep them off balance. Every squad must act as a puzzle piece they can't assemble. Meanwhile, coalition engineers modified ships on the fly. Human insight introduced minor flaws into otherwise perfect weapons, slightly varied firing rhythms, randomized shield pulses, ensuring that the Vorath could never anticipate attacks. Every adjustment, every deviation, turned the tide further. By the third day of battle, the Proxima Cluster had become a battlefield of ingenuity versus sheer numbers. Humans and adaptive aliens moved as fluid units, each squad independent yet coordinated in purpose. The Vorath fleet, unable to process the constant unpredictability, began retreating in small waves, leaving key systems intact. Back at the command center, Admiral Kale reviewed battle logs. His eyes widened as he realized the scale of human impact. They've taken control of the engagement without overwhelming firepower. Human tactics are rewriting the rules of war. Ethan gathered his team in the strategy room. Myra, Raj, and Sophia leaned over the holographic table, reviewing Vorath positions and coalition resources. This is just the beginning, Ethan said. The Vorath will adapt if we stop innovating. We need to continue staying unpredictable, not just in one system, but across all fronts. The humans implemented a new doctrine, teaching coalition forces to operate in small, flexible units. Each squad had specific objectives but freedom to decide how to achieve them, creating layers of deception that the Vorath could not decode. Even the most rigid aliens began to grasp the importance of improvisation, understanding that perfection alone could not defeat a mind as creative as humanity's. By nightfall, victory was no longer a distant hope. Key systems had been reclaimed, supply lines secured, and Vorath attacks slowed to a crawl. Human ingenuity had transformed a near-impossible war into a battlefield where creativity was the decisive weapon. Ethan surveyed the horizon from the bridge, lights from distant stars reflecting in his eyes. Myra approached quietly. "They still have numbers," she said. "But they'll never anticipate us again." "No," Ethan replied. "They'll never anticipate humans. And that is why we will not just survive, we will win." As the Proxima cluster quieted, humans and aliens alike felt a surge of hope. A galaxy that had trembled before the Vorath now stood on the edge of triumph, led by the most unpredictable force in the universe, humanity itself. The galaxy held its breath. Red alerts flashed across coalition systems as the Vorath launched their most massive offensive yet, a fleet of thousands of ships converging on the heart of coalition space. Entire star systems trembled under the approach of the enemy, their hive mind anticipating destruction. But for the first time, fear was mirrored by determination. Humans were leading the fight, and their unpredictability had become the galaxy's greatest weapon. Commander Ethan Vale stood on the bridge of the coalition flagship Aurora's Edge, surrounded by his core human team and alien officers who had learned to trust their judgment implicitly. "This is it," he said, scanning the tactical displays. "They expect a frontal assault. They expect patterns. We'll give them neither." Lieutenant Myra Hayes outlined the plan. Divide the fleet into micro-units, each moving independently. Use decoys, false signals, and feints. Every engagement must confuse their hive mind. Every strike must be unexpected. They can't adapt to what they can't predict. Admiral Kale, the coalition leader, nodded slowly. "Then humanity will lead the strategy for the final engagement. If this fails, we face extinction." The battle erupted across multiple fronts simultaneously. In space, coalition microfleets darted unpredictably, weaving through asteroid belts, disappearing into hyperspace, striking from unexpected angles. Each move was guided by human commanders who thought in chaos while aliens marveled at the results. Vorath ships collided, misfired, and hesitated, their hive mind unable to process the erratic tactics. On the planets below, human squads led ground operations with guerrilla precision. Explosions echoed through mountain passes and urban ruins as humans and coalition aliens struck in waves that seemed to appear from nowhere. Raj Patel had set up electromagnetic devices that scrambled Vorath sensors, creating the illusion of multiple units where there were only a few. Every human innovation created delays and confusion in the enemy lines. Lieutenant Sophia Tran coordinated sabotage missions, infiltrating Vorath command nodes and planting false data. The Vorath adjusted based on what they observed, but each human deception led them into traps. "They think they've learned us," Sophia said, watching the holographic feeds, "but we're always a step ahead." As the first Vorath wave faltered, Ethan moved to the front lines. He led a strike team to intercept the enemy flagship, a massive vessel bristling with energy cannons. "We take out their command," he said. "Disrupt their hive mind, and the rest will crumble." The mission was perilous. Vorath defenders swarmed, using advanced coordination to try and pin the humans. But Ethan's team improvised at every turn, turning weapons into traps, exploiting weaknesses the Vorath never expected. In a daring maneuver, Myra triggered the ship's reactors in a controlled overload, creating a massive diversion. The Vorath flagship systems were crippled, and its fleet began retreating in disarray. Back at the Coalition Command Center, Admiral Kale stared in disbelief at the display. "They've done it. Humans, they've broken the hive mind's control." Alien officers, some still skeptical, bowed their heads in respect. For the first time, the Coalition had a clear path to victory. The following days saw relentless human-led operations across multiple star systems. Every engagement used unpredictability as a weapon. The Vorath, once unstoppable, now retreated, confused and demoralized. Supply lines were cut, command nodes destroyed, and the enemy was systematically dismantled without the coalition losing a single major planet. In the aftermath, Commander Ethan Vale addressed the coalition assembly, his voice carrying across species and languages. We faced an enemy that thought itself unbeatable. They relied on perfection, on prediction. But humans are not perfect. We are creative, adaptable, and unpredictable. That is why we survived. That is why we won. Admiral Kale stepped forward. Humanity has not only saved our species, but every civilization in this coalition. Your ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability have rewritten the rules of war. Across the galaxy, alien species celebrated the newfound hope. Humans were no longer seen as primitive. They were leaders, teachers, and saviors. Tales of their strategies spread from system to system, inspiring civilizations to embrace creativity, adaptability, and courage in the face of impossible odds. Ethan and his team stood on Arinthia Prime, gazing at the stars. Myra nudged him. "We did it." Ethan smiled, eyes fixed on the horizon. "We didn't just survive. We changed the galaxy. And this is only the beginning. Humanity's creativity is limitless. Wherever there's a challenge, wherever there's a fight that no one else can win, we'll find a way." As the Vorath retreated into the depths of space, broken and defeated, a galaxy once gripped by fear now looked to humans with awe. Not because of technology, or sheer numbers, but because of the indomitable power of human ingenuity, resilience, and courage. And so humanity earned its place among the stars, not as a primitive species, but as a force that could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast even the most advanced civilizations. A force no enemy could ever predict, and one that the galaxy would never forget.